Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate. All praises to Allah, the Creator of the universes and their sustainer, the provider of believers and unbelievers. And may His choicest blessings be on the seal of His prophets, the last of His messengers and His holy progeny. We have been considering the opening paragraph of Dua Kumail, and the 10 qualities of Allah, the 10 attributes of Allah that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam discusses in the very opening of that dua. What is more important to a human being, to a creature created by Allah, than to know the attributes of Allah, than to know what is Tawheed, what is the functioning of Allah, what are the qualities of Allah. And this is paramount. And it is because some Muslims, unfortunately, have not understood this true essence of Tawheed that one finds statements made about Allah, glorified and exalted, that are bewildering, that makes us aghast. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, therefore, under the guise of teaching a supplication, opens up this ocean of knowledge on the Tawheed of Allah, on the various qualities of Allah, and he explains them so that we understand Allah. And it is logically justifiable, because how can we supplicate to Allah, glorified and exalted, and if we do not know His qualities, if we do not understand Him, if we do not know His true authority? And indeed, this is the purpose which is being satisfied by Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam in the very opening. He must have considered this such an important aspect of learning about divinity that he takes this opportunity that Kumail offered to send us this teaching. He could have taught a lot more, but the times in which he lived prevented him. And in order to ensure unity of Islam, he kept quiet. But then when opportunity is offered, he takes that opportunity and teaches on Tawheed. One finds that followed by Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. He also lived in times in which he could not exert political authority. The times were very delicate for him. He used dua. He used the same method that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam used. And hence we have a situation in which there are so many du'as taught by Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam because of the conditions in which he lived, that we have a Sahifa Alawiyya today, a whole Sahifa, a whole book of du'as taught by Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Likewise, with the fourth Imam alayhi salam, we have a complete book of du'as taught by him, and all kinds of knowledge that was set forth for us under the chapter of du'as, so that the politicians thought what he was teaching was du'as, and indeed he was teaching du'as. These are du'as, and we recite them as du'as till today as supplications. But within those du'as, there is a depth of knowledge. And the result is we have Sahifa Sajjadiyah. The 12th Imam alayhi salam gets into exactly the same situation. He is in Ghaibah, and in Ghaibah, he does not have the opportunity to propagate divinity, to propagate the rules of Islam, to propagate good behavior. And so he also has taught du'as. And we have Sahifa Mahdiyah, the Sahifa of Hazrat Mahdi Ajjalallahu Farajahu, in which his du'as are set out. And indeed, we recite so many of his du'as. One of them is a dua iftitah, on which I've had the good fortune of making a short commentary. And when I had that opportunity last year, I used that opportunity only to discuss the hamd of Allah, glorified and exalted, the praises of Allah, glorified and exalted, that the 12th Imam alayhi salam sets out in dua iftitah, 18 of them. And I took opportunity, although it was limited opportunity, because of the limited time that Ahlul Bayt TV could allocate to Dua Iftitah in the holy month of Ramadan. But that is the spirit in which our Imams alayhimus salam have taken opportunity to explain the Tawheed of Allah glorified and exalted. And having discussed the three qualities of Allah, the fourth quality that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam discusses in Dua Kumail is وَبِعِزَّتِكَ الَّتِي, I supplicate to you, but I supplicate to you for the sake of your own qualities, for the sake of your, and we will come back to this in clearer words, for the sake of your own power, your own authority that you possess. He says, وَبِعِزَّتِكَ الَّتِي لَا يَقُومُ لَهَا شَيْءٍ, and by your glory, by your glory, against which لَا يَقُومُ لَهَا شَيْءٍ, nothing can stand against it. وَبِعِزَّتِكَ الَّتِي لَا يَقُومُ لَهَا شَيْءٍ, there is nothing that can stand against your glory. Indeed, if there was anybody who could stand against the glory of Allah glorified and exalted, he would be Allah. Then Allah would not remain Allah. The inexorable, solitary stand of Allah glorified and exalted is because there is nobody who can match him. Lam yalid walam yulad walam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. There is nobody who can be like him, nobody who can reach that level. And Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam portrays that quality so beautifully by saying, وَبِعِزَّتِكَ الَّتِي لَا يَقُومُ لَهَا شَيْءٍ. There is nobody who can stand, there is nothing that can stand against you in that glory that you possess. And indeed, needless even to mention, there cannot be divinity without glory of the divinity. If that claim of being Allah lacks glory, as we have seen, of impostors who claim to be, like Fir'aun, who claimed to be Allah and were not able to glorify themselves, to show their true glory, defeats the very claim of those who are false claims. But when we come to a true Allah glorified and exalted, He is glorified. And indeed, this is how we call Him. وَبِعِزَّتِكَ الَّتِي لَا يَقُومُ لَهَا شَيْءٍ. There is nobody who can stand up to, let alone against, I say cannot even stand up to the glory of Allah. This word Izzah is exactly the opposite of the word Zillah. Zillah is demeaning. Izzah is the glory of Allah that we are talking about. And indeed, it is befitting. It is so befitting. Indeed it would be if Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam uses that word. It is so befitting that Allah be supplicated by His glory. Because that glory is only His. It only belongs to Him. Indeed, if it did belong to anybody else also, there might be two gods. And as there cannot be two gods, there cannot be in existence any entity which stands at par with the glory of Allah glorified and exalted. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam uses that quality of Allah and says, وَبِعِزَّتِكَ الَّتِي لَا يَقُومُ لَهَا شَيْءٍ. Nobody can even stand at par, can even stand in competition with your glory. Glory is a fadila. It is indeed a fadila. It is a status. It is a level that only exists for Allah glorified and exalted. وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ جَمِيعًا. All glory belongs to Allah, says Quran in chapter 35, verse 110. Izzah is a perfection. Indeed, a perfection that befits Allah, a perfection that befits a God. Indeed, if that perfection does not exist in an entity, he cannot be a God. And Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, in emphasizing that particular attribute of Allah, pleads to him saying, we plead to you, we supplicate to you, knowing you are Allah, you are our Lord, you are our Creator, because you have Izzah. And it is by that izzah that we supplicate to you, izzah that nobody can withstand, nobody can claim authority about it, nobody can claim to equal it. And its opposite is dhillah. The opposite of izzah is dhillah. If there is dhillah, there is no authority, there is no recognition, there is no respect indeed. So it is the opposite of dhillah, the izzah that Allah has, indeed must have to be providential, and certainly commands, and has shown over the centuries that have passed that his izzah is inexorable. It is something that cannot be matched. La yaqumu laha shay. It cannot be matched by anybody at all. And having mentioned that quality, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam then goes to discuss the fifth quality of divinity, and he says, wa bi azamatika allati malat kulla shay. And by your grandeur, which has permeated everything. Strong words Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam uses, and indeed he is talking of a strong entity, Allah. He is supplicating, he is teaching us to supplicate to Allah. And this is why it is of such paramount importance that we supplicate to Allah in the words taught by a Masoom, taught by a person who knows Allah and has knowledge of a deep knowledge of Tawheed, so that he is able to address Allah at the level to which Allah is entitled, to address him in a manner that befits addressing Allah. True, it befits us as the creatures to address him in that way. But it is that kind of address that creates hope that Allah, glorified and exalted, will be pleased with it. He knows we are following the teachings of our Master. That in itself is pleasant to Allah, that we should be following the teachings of one whom He has sent as His proof, as a Hujjatullah. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam teaches us, he said to say to Allah, وَبِعَظَمَتِكَ الَّتِي مَلَعَتْ kulla shay, and by your grandeur which has permeated everything. Nothing exists in this world which is not the creation of Allah. And so in its existence, in its very presence in this world, or in the universe, or wherever it is, whether it is on Mars, or it is on Jupiter, or in any other sun to which we are not familiar. Well, wherever it may exist, but wherever it exists, then what it does is it sings the songs of Allah, glorified and exalted. This is the grandeur, this is the azama, the greatness of Allah, glorified and exalted. And this is why Quran says that everything sings the songs of Allah, glorified and exalted. Because everything is the creation of Allah. And when everything is the creation of Allah, then one finds that everything subsists because of Allah. And this is why when we look at the universe, we find that nothing exists without a cause, because Allah does not create in vain. Allah does not act in vain. His quality is a quality of purpose. It's a quality of reason. It's a quality of logic. It's a quality of substance. So there is no emptiness in what He does. There is no void in what He does. And so whenever we find anything on earth, whether it is a piece of stone, it is there for the purpose, and science has today shown us the good purpose for which iron exists, for which zinc exists, for which a stone exists. And indeed, we humans have been told why we exist. The jinn have been told why they exist. Nothing is created by Allah without existence. And so when there is a cause for existence, that which is created sings the songs of Allah, glorified and exalted. This is the level at which at which Allah exists, and this is the glory of Allah that cannot be matched by anything else or by by any other person. He says, وَبِعِزَّتِكَ الَّتِي لَا يَقُومُ لَهَا شَيْءٍ. If it were to be possible, and it is impossible and it will never happen, but if it were to be possible that anybody can stand up, can be yaqum, can stand at par with Allah, glorified and exalted, there would be two Allahs. And that is an impossibility. That is an impossibility. Because then one Allah is subservient to another, and if it is subservient, it cannot be Allah. Allah is an authority. Godship is an authority over which there cannot be any other authority. His last word, He is the first, and He is the last. Huwa al-awwalu wal-akhiru. And we will come to that in the next sitting, inshallah wa ta'ala. That is divinity. And and these are qualities that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam is at pains to demonstrate so visibly, so ostensibly in Dua Kumail. And he says, I have come to supplicate to you, Allahumma inni as'aluka, I seek to you bi'azamatika allati mala'at kulla shay, by your azamah, by your grandeur, which has permeated everything. The important point to not to miss in this particular sentence of Dua Kumail is that nothing exists without a cause. Be it a piece of stone, be it a coral in the bottom of the sea. Nothing exists without a cause. Rabbana, Quran says, Ma khalaqta hadha batila subhanak. You are glorified. You do not create anything. Ma khalaqta hadha. You haven't created this in vain. You have not created this for nothing. And so and indeed, creation without a cause would be contrary to the azamah of Allah. When there is azamah, when there is this glory of Allah, when there is this grandeur of Allah, then there must be a purpose in it, because Allah will not act without a purpose. It is contrary to the honor, to the level, to the exaltitude, and we will come to those qualities also of Allah glorified and exalted, to create anything in vain. So the moment it exists, then it exists for a reason. And when Allah has created something for a reason, then it has permeated. Allah has permeated in it, indeed, and that is what Amir al-Mu'mineen says, wa bi'azamatika allati mala'at kulla shay. It has permeated the very essence of everything. So in everything we see Allah glorified and exalted. When we see a flower, we see Allah glorified and exalted. When we see a cat, we see the creation of the cat by Allah. When we see a cloud, we see the creation of Allah. When we see a star, we see a creation of Allah. وَبِعَظَمَتِكَ الَّتِي مَلَأَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. Everything Allah has permeated everything that has been created. These are matters that are of essence of Allah glorified and exalted. He cannot create anything in vain. And nothing can exist which has not been created by Him. So the converse is also true. Nothing can exist that has not been created by Him. And so there is nothing except His creation. And so His azamah, His greatness, His glory permeates everything, so that in everything we see Allah. Hence the destruction of anything, particularly as we are in this century in which environment has become so difficult. Desecration of environment is indeed desecration of creation of Allah glorified and exalted, because in that environment Allah's glory has permeated, Allah's standing has permeated. It is His creation, and hence a great duty to protect it. And in the next sentence, Allah Ta'ala says, وَبِسُلْطَانِكَ الَّذِي عَلَى كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. and by your sovereignty, which is over all things. Indeed, indeed. How can there be a sovereignty which is not over all things? Everything is controlled by Allah, glorified and exalted. Everything is His creation. Everything is under His authority. He creates and He sees the end of it. And we will come to discuss death in due course, and we will see how He it is that causes, and everything dies except Him. And we shall, in the next sitting, inshallah, we shall discuss that quality of Allah, glorified and exalted. So, وَبِسُلْطَانِكَ الَّذِي, and by your sovereignty, which nobody can escape, سُلْطَانِكَ الَّذِي عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, وَبِسُلْطَانِكَ الَّذِي عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Your sovereignty exists over everything. If He is a Lord, if He is Allah, then He has authority over everything, and so it can order everything. There is nothing that exists without Him. The moment He decides that something must go, it goes. It is destroyed. And the moment He decides something is born, it is kun fayakun. He only has to say, be, and it becomes. Aradallahi shay'an faqala lahu kun fayakun. When He intends something to exist, He says be, and it becomes. That is Allah. That is Allah. If He has to look for things to create, if He is subordinated to that thing, then He cannot create unless that thing exists. But He creates that thing also. He says be, and it becomes. Indeed, there is a deeper philosophy to that than I am saying in this simplistic sentence. But that is divinity. And He says, وَبِسُلْطَانِكَ الَّذِي عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, and by your sovereignty, by your authority, which exists over everything. Everything is under your authority, under your final word, under your final command. And that is Allah. If there is anything that can escape that, then it is not Allah. Today, in the world that we know of, the position is that somebody can commit a crime in a country A, and I do not mention the names of the countries deliberately. He can commit a crime in country A and then run away to country B. And the authority in country A is helpless. They may be the most powerful country in the world, but they cannot catch the person in country B because there is no treaty of extradition between the country A and country B. And the authorities in country A, however powerful, however many intercontinental ballistic missiles they may have, they cannot catch the person in country B because country B has no extradition authority, no extradition treaty with country A. So a person can go beyond the arm of the law. It says the law has long arms, but apparently you can even, if clever enough, go beyond that arm. But with Allah, the entire authority is His. He needs no extradition treaties. Everything that exists because of Him, exists as a result of His creation, and He has authority over him. He brings him wherever he is. He brings him wherever he is. Indeed, a person, that hadith, and I have no time to set it out in extenso, but in a hadith which I'm sure you've heard, in which somebody sees somebody frightening, asks Nabi who he is. He is told that he is Malikul Maut. He says, oh, I must run away from him. And so he runs away from him. When the time comes, he suddenly finds the same person there and takes his soul. Nabi Ibrahim, the soul is taken in the sun. He says to Malikul Maut, can I go to the shade? And Malikul Maut says, no, my command is that I should take your soul now, and I will do so in obedience to Allah, glorified and exalted. So you can see the authority of Allah pervades in that way, and even people like Nabi Sulaiman, so close to Allah, glorified and exalted, could not escape it. And hence, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam incorporates that authority of Tawheed within the opening paragraph of Dua Kumail and says, وَبِسُلْطَانِكَ الَّذِي وَبِسُلْطَانِكَ الَّذِي عَلَى كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. And I beseech you, therefore, as such is your authority, such is your power, what am I going to ask for that can compare with this vast authority that you have, this inexorable power that you command? I would be nothing, and my seeking would be of no importance to you at all, which you can grant in no time at all. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam gathers a catalogue of such authorities of Allah, and in the process enables us to understand Tawheed. May Allah send blessings on Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam and convey our thanks to him for teaching us Tawheed. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.